Welcome to the GrowthPro Edge. We're here to help scale your business, build stronger teams, and sharpen your leadership skills. I'm your host, Denise Killian with the GrowthPro Group and Trainertainment, and today we're going to be talking about hiring. Why is it so challenging to find good candidates? We're going to be speaking with Amber Lambert of Betson, so let's get ready to sharpen your edge. Amber Lambert, thank you so much for being here on the GrowthPro Edge. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Listen, before we get started talking about hiring, I want to give you an opportunity to take a couple minutes to tell us about you and who you are.
Okay, yeah. So my name is Amber. I currently work for Betson, but I got my start in this industry starting and running my own family entertainment center. So I've done a number of hiring, different good and bad. I used to also run a corporate-owned family entertainment center, and I am an employee. I've been hired. I've gone through the process from both sides.
As we get started, knowing that there's no person on the planet who has a 100% perfect hiring record, right?
Absolutely.
So we all have made mistakes, maybe perhaps brought somebody on who wasn't the right fit, or something came up that we weren't aware of. But hopefully we've all learned from those hires and take that knowledge and lesson and moving forward. But I want to begin with, we all kind of hear regularly, you just can't hire anybody right now. Nobody wants to work. Well, they're just terrible and horrible. I can't get anybody who's qualified, right? But then simultaneously, you hear, I've sent out 453 resumes and haven't even gotten a single call back. Are both sides to blame here for this hiring frustration?
I think so. I think there is a kind of a generational gap going on right now, and I hear this, from different people. But then, I have a daughter who is almost 18, and she went through the same thing. And I think that there's a lot of people that are really quick to judge this younger generation. And having met her and her friends, they're going to do some amazing stuff, and I'm really excited about some of the things that they're bringing to the table. So I think some of us older people need to have a little bit more open mind. We tend to, I've got a good story when I had a fun center and I had these rules about how, your hair and your badge and, all those same rules that a lot of people have. And one guy said, well, can I have a mohawk? And I was like, no, absolutely not. He said, well, then why do we sell them at redemption? And I was like, okay. So he kind of talked me off of my vision of what it should be. And I've got pictures with him and some kid that was a customer with their matching mohawks. And he was just a fun, great employee. And, why did I have it stuck in my head that that was not okay? So I think sometimes we have to change our internal vision of what it should be to open our minds up to, some of the things that they can bring to the table.
Knowing that, and we're gonna hit both sides. Excuse me, we're gonna hit both sides of this issue. We're gonna talk about what companies can be doing better in their internal processes, in the hiring process, but also for those employees or people seeking and hoping to become employees, what they can do a little differently because it's shifted. The used to be, uh, we're going to date ourselves, but right, I remember looking at, you would have to call places or look in the classifieds or something like that in terms of seeking a job. And it was all about who you knew. Oh, they're hiring here, or I know this person that would be a good fit. That was so much of how the process worked. And now it's all online. You can do it from your house, from your phone, finding out where openings are and all of that sort of thing. But the process, I think one of the big challenges is the AI aspect
Mhm.
of hiring. We put out an ad, here's the job description, here are the keywords. 500 people can apply, but then that nobody's going to see those applications because we've put AI in charge of determining who's worthy of looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge mistake because it's just a, because they're also using AI to do their resumes, right? So you're not really seeing who that person is. It's an AI seeing who an AI wants you to see. So it's not really, that's where I think when you get into the like audition kind of interviews, I always, thought with our industry, well, even a lot of industries, other than, a doctor or a lawyer or something, you know, you want to hire for personality and train for the skill, right? I can teach somebody how to do an Excel spreadsheet, but if you don't have the right personality of the person, and, I don't know if I'm the best person to talk to about this because, I did the auditions and I quickly discovered that it was always my second choice that was the best employee. So whoever my first choice was never worked out. I don't know why, but never worked out. Always my second choice. Every audition.
That is hilarious and interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if I were they were too qualified. I guess you could have the overqualified or I don't know. And I wasn't the only one choosing. It was like my got my whole staff involved in the process. So yeah, it was just always my second choice. So
That's interesting. That's quite interesting. Yeah, I think that frustration for on both ends of employers saying that they don't have enough qualified candidates and employees, potential job seekers saying, I can never get anybody to call me back. I think the solution is you do have them, you're just looking at them the wrong way.
Mhm.
Either they're not getting through your AI portal because they didn't have the right keywords, so that they're just sitting in this empty space, um, or you're looking at what you actually need in the wrong way.
Right. Or you don't have the confidence that you can train that person or mold that person. So that might be something that you're lacking, right? Cuz if you could find somebody with the right personality, you should be able to train them on the rest of the skills. So, and I even had employees that probably didn't have the right personality, and we, brought them along and kind of molded them into finding that motivation.
Mhm. Absolutely. Now, one of the things that is a sticking point for many people is pay. Whereas, cost of living, my heavens, we all know it's real. Things are it's a struggle bus right now for a lot of people in this economy, from the cost of rent to groceries to even the gas that we're putting in our cars to get to said job. That everything is going up, but wages are not going up commiserately to match that. Of course, part of that too is that people are spending less when they do go places, which, it all is this snowball that
Mhm.
kind of continues to avalanche down the hill. It feels like right now, but pay is a part of it. How do you balance that? As a business owner, you have a bottom line, you have things that this is where you can afford to be, and you're not going to be able to employ anybody if you don't have a business anymore. So there's that factor. There is that line, but also the understanding of what job seekers need, not just what they want, what they actually need. How do you balance those two?
Well, I mean, I think on your, the people that have been with you, the supervisory team, your management team, I mean, you have to pay a living wage, but there's depends on your market that you're in too, because there's certain markets that, the minimum wage is $17, $20 an hour. In, the location I managed in California, I didn't have a single employee that didn't have two or three jobs. So you had to be flexible with scheduling to have good employees. You couldn't just say, "Hey, we take priority." You had to work with them, so because they have to make a living. So I think, um, but sometimes you get what you pay for too. That's like it with anything, you buy the cheapest car, it might break down. So, sometimes you gotta find other ways to cut, and that your employees should probably not be the first place you're looking.
Absolutely. And certainly, the livable wage, they've got to be able to make a living, right? That is number one. And really analyze your community, the cost of, over a couple of years, that renting that one bedroom apartment could have doubled in 2 years. And you're probably not going to be able to double someone's salary or pay in that same 2 years. But if you're not aware of that and what your employees are facing and potential job seekers are facing, then, because you've owned your house for 30 years and you've not looked for an apartment in 40 years. So, but being aware of what challenges are facing your employees and job seekers, I think is a real mistake.
But I think if let's say your income or your bottom line revenue goes up by, 20% in a year, shouldn't some of that be contributed to your employees who are helping make that happen? So, if your business is increasing, then you should be looking at that every year, that it shouldn't be exactly the same amount, but it should be something.
So when we talk about pay, that's one factor when people decide to take a job. So from the job seeker's perspective, pay is going to be one of the issues, right? To me, it's the first thing I'm going to look at in terms of, is this a yes or no, right? Because I know what my bottom line is. And if it's well beneath that bottom line, I can't do it. But if it meets that, okay, what are the other factors that contribute to someone taking a job where maybe the pay, it's like, okay, I can make that work, but gosh, I'd like more. Is pay the only reason that people will come work at a place?
No, not at all. I had some military retirees that used to work for me, and pay wasn't important at all. Like, they obviously want to make money, but it wasn't the top priority. Yeah, flexibility was the priority for some people, or job happiness, So, some people that you could offer them double the pay and they're still going to turn it down if they're going to be unhappy doing that. So, I think there's a lot more, and again, it's individualized. It's not everybody is motivated by the same thing. So, not, you get some kid that's still living at home that may not, he just needs some fun money to go to some concerts. He's not necessarily looking for his career. He's just looking, for a stepping stone or some experience.
And speaking of that experience, I think there is a real interesting conversation that's happening where, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it, I'm someone who believes that not everyone needs a bachelor's or a master's or a PhD, that there are some professions or some jobs in which experience or aptitude plays a more essential role than how many degrees you have on your resume. Now, obviously, there's some exceptions, right? I want my doctor to have a lot of those degrees on their resume, right? I want the people building the bridge to have a lot of degrees on their resume. But, a lot of jobs that say you have to have a bachelor's or you have to have this, that, really? Really? Are we looking at the wrong things? Are we looking at credentials in terms of businesses who say, I can't find anybody? Are you looking at the wrong things?
I think so. I think because I don't have a degree and I'm pretty experienced in what I'm doing. So I think if I was on the job market and somebody passed on me because I didn't have a degree, I think they would be the ones that would be losing out. And I think we far too often, are quick to judge what's on paper instead of, somebody's, work ethic and things that are a little harder to measure. It's not something you can put down. I can't put down on paper that I'm going to give you 80 hours a week and, that I'm going to be tied to my job because I love it so much. I mean, I can, but you're probably not going to believe me. But, until you get to know me, then you'll be like, okay, this is somebody that has, ethics and that, I want working for me. So I think some of that's why, in the family entertainment industry, having the multiple kind of group interviews and having the audition style, I think it gives you that time to at least get a little glimpse into who they are, how they interact with people, something that nothing on paper is going to tell you.
And I think, you said it so beautifully earlier, hiring for personality, not necessarily skills. If you have the right personality, if you have the right motivation, if you have the right aptitude, if you have the potential, I can teach you how to do this thing. Depending upon what it is, there are some things you cannot teach, right? I cannot teach someone to be a 7 foot linebacker, right? But I can teach you the skills to make you pretty good on on the line. But for the most part, if you've got the right attitude and you've got the right training program,
Hmm.
if they have a degree or not, or whatever they say on paper, might not match their actual ability to do the job.
And some of my best employees were 15 or 16 in their first job, right? They were the most motivated. They're the most, they didn't have bad habits yet. So it was like I love the younger employees, they didn't come to me with these bad habits. But a lot of times there's so many puzzle pieces that go into, what makes a good employee. And, a lot of times when they were coming in for the first round of interviews, the ones that came in with parents, I'd be watching their parents as much as I'd be watching them. How did their parents react? And that's another aspect is, now in this day and age, there are, I've got a kid in college that has friends whose parents still pick out their outfits for him. We have a lot of helicopter parents. And so finding an employee that you're not going to get called from mom is also important, right? That's another factor.
I have had parents of 20 somethings, late 20s, close to 30 years old. Parents call me about something. Mm.
Isn't
So,
it
yeah,
how we're like latchkey kids, yet our generation is the most helicoptery parents out there? It's
I think we call that over adjustment, friend. Right. That I was a latchkey kid, right? From 4th grade, which of course now my bless my parents, they would be hauled into to jail or have us taken away. But 4th grade, man, you got to go home. You got to walk home from school by yourself. And there was like an hour and a half before mom and dad got home from work that you were on your own. And it was the most glorious
look
90
how great we
minutes
turned out. Look how
of
great we
the
turned.
day. And look how fabulous we are. That's right. But I think it's that over adjustment that happens of, you know, folks our age, people our age have forgotten that that's how we came up and we were okay. And in fact, learned a lot of valuable things by making mistakes. And,
Well, and
but
as parents were trying to protect our kids from, pain or whatever, and sometimes they have to go through that. They have to get yelled at by their boss, and you have to let them do that. But, you know, I think, knowing who the parents are or knowing who the spouse is, there are some companies that they'll interview you with your spouse at dinner to, before they'll hire you. Because if you get somebody with a crazy spouse, it's just as bad.
Mhm. Yeah. And that cultural fit, that alignment of, is this going to help encourage the positive culture that you're building? Or is this someone who is going to maybe not align with that in some way?
But I think we have to be less prejudgmental. I mean, I know they say that the interview starts as soon as they walk in, right? So that's when you're starting to look at things, but you're judging that they, showed up in their sweatpants. That's how they dress, right? That doesn't mean that's how they're going to dress at work. So don't be so quick to judge the mohawk, right? Or the earrings or whatever different thing
Yeah.
it might be what we would have chosen. But that might be your very best party host. It might be the funnest kid that you have working for you. So, um, just get to know them before you prejudge based on looks.
All right. So, best parting tip for hiring managers before we end, because as we're running out of time, what would your parting wisdom be for those folks who are like, there's nobody out there. We can't hire anybody. Oh my goodness. Right? What is your parting wisdom to implant with them?
I would say I just said it with the don't be so quick to judge a book by its cover. Get to know them. They're out there, and when you get to know them, they're actually really amazing kids that are coming up right now.
Absolutely. Well, Amber, as always, it is so wonderful to talk to you. I appreciate you giving some time for us here on the Growth Pro Edge. Very quickly, tell us, how can people reach out to you?
You can find me on social media, Amber Lambert, A Lambert at Betson.com. I'm everywhere, or reach out to Growth Pro Group and they'll get you in touch.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much, Amber. I appreciate your time. And let's go out and hire some folks.
Well, we hope today's conversation has given you some practical tools to help you sharpen your edge and accelerate your growth. If you're ready to grow your team, your business, or yourself, contact us at thegrowthprogroup.com and set up a free growth call with one of our coaches. Once again, a special thanks to our sponsors, Embed, Party Center Software, ENA Global, Betson, Simnox, Schaefer, and Roller for all that they do to help us bring you the Growth Pro Edge. And until next time, I'm Denise Killian with the Growth Pro Group. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving for the extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.